So normally, I dislike Butterfingers because I don't like the bars.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't like the way they do it. Apparently the eggs are way better.
Well, there you go. I'm glad you enjoyed.
I never liked, because I always like the taste of Butterfinger.
Oh, can I have one of those?
Like the nougat stuff in the middle, I just hated the way it like got stuck in my teeth. These ones not so much.
So Butterfinger Rounds, or Butterfinger BBs, what they're called, I believe technically, is now the new candy of choice.
Mm-hmm. Not eat candy. I'm always a sucker for Reese's, but...
Because I enjoy Butterfingers, actually. I'm quite a fan of them.
Your mom has a Butterfinger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gross.
Gross. Not when she uses it.
Super gross.
A little bit.
Welcome to On Gaming Podcast. Today I have...
I am Joe. I believe I am still currently riding this gravy train to nowhere. I will also be cracking a lot of whys and generally hoping that Mr. Galen back there fucks up royally during this procedure. You're welcome there, champ.
Probably will.
I'm Elizabeth, also known as Jinxie on the internet. And I'm here because I think this is fun and this is my kind of jam. So
They're all so bad.
And I am your host, Galen, also known as Coleotron. So today our topic is nerd culture and how we evolved with it. Or go right ahead.
if it didn't evolve at all and you just grew up.
Ha.
Insert Twilight Zone music here.
So, your thoughts on that, Lady Ann Germ?
Oh, thanks.
And Gravy Train Passenger.
Just call me Gravy. It's all gravy here. Mostly because I'm slathered in it.
What's a good question to ask for this? Since it
Okay, so this whole thing stemmed from us talking earlier about how we grew up with nerd culture and our relationship to it, and how as we got older, we noticed that it started becoming more mainstream, which technically it did. The Marvel Cinematic Universe became a big thing. It suddenly was kind of really cool to be nerdy. So,
And for those of you, again, I'm talking to you, Steve, right now, sitting half naked in your lounging chair in your mother's basement, covered with Cheeto dust and shame. It was different for us. I've been there too, man. This is okay. This is not accusatory. This is me talking to you. I'm giving a sense of solidarity here. It's fucking sucked being a nerd back in the day. You like had dandruff and were girl repellent just because you had very cool and awesomely shaped dice.
I'm Resident Girl, by the way. Just
She is Resident Girl. Thank you for cutting me off. Because oddly
You're
cool,
welcome.
shapely dice that you can press it and it helps you cast magical spells. What? That's so unfair that that's cool now. I just don't get it. Or is that even cool? Thoughts?
maybe not the Cheeto dust, but
yeah.
So are you saying Steve will forever die alone? I'm sorry, Steve. You will die alone.
Steve needs to take a bath. But Steve is not hopeless. I'm not
Steve,
saying that.
you've had advice from a real, actual girl here. Take a bath.
Stop picking on Steve. Okay, so for me, in my own experience, I know I have a lot different of experience because I would fight on anybody who teased me for anything. And so I was the nerd that you just didn't fuck with, really, in my school. I constantly got kicked out of school for doing it. I didn't take shit from much people. And I liked Pokemon when Pokemon was not cool during the time of Ruby and Sapphire.
I don't understand. You were a nerd that fought back. Do tell. Or elaborate more if you can.
Elaborate more? Well, the only thing I can give you is a story, really.
Share the story.
Like I said, I was really big into Pokemon, and there was a small group that was still into Pokemon. And during this time, again, you got teased if you were a nerd. That's all it was. You got teased. I had like crazy freaking anger management issues when I was young. I would get mad for any little reason. Well, we had a little place. It was by a giant dumpster, and it was a cool like grassy area that was next to him.
So you hang up at the dumpster.
Yeah.
Suave.
That's where you belong.
No.
Thank you for that.
Well, we hung out over there just because it was quiet and there was like nobody really around. But every time now and then somebody would walk over there. And one time somebody walked over there and, oh look, it's the loser crowd playing on their games. I instantly got up and tackled the kid and put his face into the curb. That's just what I did. And the friend that I was hanging out with did not know I had anger management issues. And he learned really hard that day.
I imagine there was a little bit of a water boy scream for that incident.
I don't know. I went black, and
Water was
when I
involved
came back,
somewhere.
he was just in my fist, and that's what it was. But I got it kicked out for like 2 weeks.
Okay, so online gamers, do not fuck with Coldy Ultron. He will go to your house and curb stomp you.
I'm not like that anymore. Anger management
He
has
will
cured
curb
me
stomp your puppy. He's downgraded.
Or your
from
hamster.
downgraded to puppies. So how about your experience in growing up with
man.
nerd culture?
I was such a wimp. So I was kind of labeled as permanently the new kid when I moved to this town. I moved here towards the end of the school year, which is already not good because everybody's already making plans with their friends for summer vacation. I didn't have time to make friends to make plans for summer vacation. So I should have opted for the, you can just miss 3 weeks of school and we're not going to ding you for it because you just moved here. I should have went for that, but I didn't because I was trying so hard to be good at school. But I was also one of the few nerds at school, which felt weird. Elementary through middle school, I was the only one that would just whip out their Game Boy on the bus. Only one. It sucked. So I had a hard time making friends. So I just was kept to my lonesome nerddom.
Well, if I may
Sure, go ahead.
interject and disagree with that too, there with you, I think you did make friends. Yoshi, Mario, Luigi, Pikachu. These are all worthwhile individuals to have in
Okay,
your life.
I'm just gonna say I actually did have imaginary friends in elementary school. My teachers were concerned for me because I would talk to them during recess and only them.
That's called schizophrenia. How's it coming along for you?
Come along great. It turned out pretty well, I think.
All right, nice. I've noticed from the short time I've known you that you do have a tendency to keep the voices to yourself, so that's a big
Yeah.
plus. Congratulations. You've
Oh
come
yeah,
far.
no, I've kept it very much under control.
Yeah.
Shock therapy works great. No, it doesn't. That's a joke.
Do I have to be concerned about anything? You can
No.
tell me.
No, just let it.
And for those of you, again, at home thinking about taking shock therapy, it obviously hasn't worked for Elizabeth here. She just denied that it works great. It's a horrible tactic. Do not use it. Embrace your delusions. Just hide them.
Shock therapy actually does work for certain situations. That's a topic for a different day. But, so I was the lonely nerd at school. The only time I actually did make friends in my nerddom was when we were all out for, I guess, recess, if you still would call it that during middle school. No one wanted to call it recess because it's kid stuff. But I was just kind of sit on a wall and read. And then another person would just kind of sit on a wall and read. So, yeah, made friends just because we were both antisocial nerds.
And who was
kinda.
that
Like the
friend?
magical like music that just faintly played in the background as the other person sits down. Where's that
I
awkward
don't
like?
want to close my eyes.
Thank you.
I don't want to drift away. Yeah, no, that didn't happen.
Was there that awkward eye making contact, just like with a nod of acknowledgement?
That is where it started.
Are you still friends with this person today?
No,
Aw.
because she was not into actual like other nerddom. She just read a lot, which is fine. But the
So
thing
she
is,
was
like,
a poser nerd.
not really. She just liked to read. She was like very, very smart, very bright girl. She actually, at that point, I think she wanted to be like a costume designer for theater, which is pretty cool. But anyways, so I had like half nerd friends. We'd bond on like one basic thing, which is usually just reading books, but no video games, no cartoon nerddom.
You had one thing in common, and it wasn't any other medium.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So my nerddom friendships sucked. And then I was also constantly teased because, like I said, I was permanent new kid because nothing really seemed to get me out of the new kid status. So even though I'd lived in this town for over 10 years, still permanent new kid. Until, I went to high school and nobody fucking knew me. So,
That still sounds like new kid syndrome to me.
yeah, I was still new kid syndrome. Nobody knew me at that high school because I actually went to the high school none of the other kids in my middle school went to.
She went to the smart kid school.
I went to
I
dumb
know.
kid school, then I went to smart kid school. Because dumb kid school was just painful.
Well, how about you, Joe? What was your Trials.
My trials were pretty much that stereotypical nerdom thing. Steve, again, I apologize for making fun of you. This was how I coped in high school and middle school with nerds, being one myself. I was an Uncle Tom nerd. Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah. And for those of you who don't know what an Uncle Tom is, look it up online. Because I think it'd be inappropriate me being a gloriously head of hair white guy to say that.
Oh, you almost outed yourself.
Outed what? I don't understand.
Nothing
Yeah,
at all.
nothing. Thank you.
No, you almost outed yourself as a blonde. You're actually a brunette. Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
Yes, a blonde, a beautiful, beautiful blonde.
He outed himself in episode 1.
Bobby, you ain't got nothing on me. You shut your whore mouth, sir. So, yeah, a bit of an Uncle Tom nerd. I mean, and not like in a general sense where I was a nerd that actually hated other nerds. I was just two-faced about it. I'd have my nerd friends do that, and then when I was at school, I'd kind of hang out with the jock friends. I wasn't a jock, horrible at sports, and probably I was a little bit of the, like, tag-along bitch. But I
that
wanted to
water
be
boy.
cool. Holy crap, did I want to be cool. So I would have tossed you under the bus, big time, for just that ounce of cool. So yes, I'm a horrible person, and hell is going to be a warm, fiery place, and I shall burn forever. You're welcome, Steve.
So that's our nerddom backstories. So now that we've kind of gotten older, gotten out of that school setting where you're stuck with these little shits for years and years. So after high school, you get into college, you start, actually hanging out with people you want to hang out with.
And hanging out with people who no longer see that is like a lame thing. It's just your thing.
Yeah.
And less and less bullying happens, I guess you can say.
I think it just switches topics, really.
It switches topics. I mean, nowadays when I talk to other people my age, and I mean, I'm getting up there in age. Hey, I'm almost hitting 30. It's
No,
close.
you're not.
Yeah,
You're in your
that is-
mid-20s. That is not hitting 30.
I am above my mid-20s, but
No, 26 is still mid-20s. Your late 20s is like...
I am
20.
28.
Then you're barely
Oh,
in
wow,
like
did he
20s.
lie to you about his age? Do you
No.
realize how old he is?
No, I know how old
Did
he
you
is.
give him
I
a fake
forgot.
driver's license? Is that
No,
how it
I
is?
forgot how old he was. I remembered. The last time I actually heard him say
I love you
his
too,
age.
dear. God, forgot how old I was. Jesus.
I remember when I think about it.
Well,
We're both bad
the
at numbers.
change that I've seen so much is nowadays everybody. I mean, look at Pokemon Go. It was one of the most downloaded apps because everyone was reliving their childhood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it became huge and popular again. It's all the old people coming back into it, and I know there's a lot of people just fell off of Pokemon,
Yeah.
and now
It's
it was widely accepted. Like,
It seemed like it was kind of more of an easy access back into Pokemon for at least for a little bit, just a little bit. But I think one big thing of why it seemed like is when you get out of high school, especially when you get out of high school and if you like go off to college, that it seems like a lot more people just kind of suddenly are into nerddom. I think it's because they start being like they now have to worry for their own skins and not their social status. As in, I now have to be financially responsible for myself and all this other stuff. So high school seems just like literally kid stuff. So it's like, yeah, you're into Pokemon, whatever, man. Can you be my study buddy? You're actually good at this. You're good at this subject.
So
So it's much more like you're kind of more in it for the survival, and nerddom doesn't really matter at that point. So, but then there's also the topic of now nerddom seems to be super mainstream. What with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Pokemon Go, like Galen said, E3 being E3, PAX East, PAX Prime, all that crazy stuff. seems to be
Comic-Con.
so big. Oh, and esports. So now nerddom is super mainstream. So would this kind of be part of the nerds will take over the world or nerds are the future kind of idea, or is it just seems like the natural evolution of society?
Well, I don't know about any of that. That was way too smart for me, in all honesty. However, I can point out the time when I noticed, nerddom was maybe not as bad. It was becoming a little bit more socially acceptable. Now, granted, this is a question of that was something that actually happened, or just maybe my maturing and coming to terms with who I am, and really embracing myself as a nerd and not staying in the closet as a closet nerd, which were hard times.
there's only so many D&D campaigns you can do inside
A
a
closet, absolutely.
4x4 room
By
like,
yourself. My mom just thought I was a chronic masturbator. No, I was writing characters and creating fantastic worlds of D&D. So, yeah. Please don't listen to this, Mom.
Please
anyways,
do.
But for me, it was when Lord of the Rings came out as film, because as Elizabeth pointed out, you have this cinematography for the Marvel movies. But when that came out, it was like this big thing. This is blockbuster epic. It's got a good story and excellent visuals and good action and decent acting. And it's
lovely CGI.
Lovely CGI, yeah.
Hey, it actually kind of holds up.
Yeah. And it was just kind of
just
mainstream.
saw that
and
awkward
everyone,
scene.
yeah, everyone.
That Legolas sliding down the elephant.
Oh, yeah.
Legolas will slide down your elephant too, son. Don't you?
Oh.
He's not gay.
Orlando Bloom, yes, I'm sorry, you are. It's not that there's anything wrong with that. You're an elf. Elves are just naturally lean towards promiscuity. We'll go with that.
Hey, they're elves. They don't have to adhere to your gender binary.
They don't.
Pleb.
And they are sexually fluid. Thank you, Peanut Gallery. You will be edited out again. But that, and I can remember hearing jocks, the jocks that were kind of hanging out talking about it. And for me, it was like a little bashful still. It's like, oh, yeah, I saw it. It was okay. There was some cool deaths in it. I like the deaths.
I like the fighting.
The fighting is cool.
Manly.
It's manly, yeah.
Gimli being your favorite character because he was just so manly.
He was, and he was so beardy and
Such beardy.
awesome.
Yeah, I think that's what brought it to the forefront of people and the sites on, oh, this is a bunch of nerd shit, and yet it's so awesome, because that's what Lord of the Rings was. It was awesome.
And
it was a
nerd
very
shit.
epic storyline, and a lot of people can get into it. I mean, the fantasy setting was so easy to weave other people into the story that, I mean, I can talk to days about people and people who are jocks nowadays. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, that kind of, I've read like a theory or something, or just an observation of how some of the most popular like sci-fi, fantasy, some of the most popular like just general out there genres of books, movies, or anything like that, is the success kind of not really hinges, but there's a correlation between its success and how easily you can put yourself into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the easier somebody can put themselves into the world, it's like, man, what would I be if I was in Star Wars, or what would I be if I was in Lord of the Rings?
Apparently, you would be a miser if you were in Star Wars. You gotta
Star Wars.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a thing, though. It's like, how easy is it for people to put themselves in that world and imagine them as like this badass wizard or swordsman or Jedi, or maybe someone wants to be a stormtrooper. I don't know. But
If you want to be a stormtrooper, just shoot yourself now. It's not going to work out.
it's gonna happen eventually. Your aim is that bad.
Yeah, that is true. That, and you're also a faceless individual, so you have no.
No, I want to be the stormtrooper that could. This is a fantasy world, Joe.
You mean Finn?
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations.
I want to be Finn.
You're now Finn.
And no, you're still white on this side of the screen, so I'm not.
This is a fantasy world. I can pick whatever I want. I want to be a Mexican Finn now, okay? I want to be some Japanese samurai Finn. How about that?
Well, that kind of
Fine.
Exactly. It's called fantasy, Joe. Get with it.
Okay. I want to be a buxom, light elf with long flaxen hair.
That is
That doesn't mean that I am
for
in real
another
life.
day. Or unless you
I
already
never
talked
said about
it.
real life.
Oh,
I
okay.
said about, I don't know.
Oh,
the
that was
edge
the
of
one
the
I couldn't
empire.
be in. I had words to say on that one, but I had to sleep because I had to work the next day. 'cause
Well,
I was
congratulations
responsible.
for being an adult.
I know. Speaking of adulthood, nerdom in adulthood. How is it?
Oh, nerdom in adulthood. Oh, gosh. I wish I had more time and not work.
You mean the lament of all adults?
Yeah, it's kind of nice because you have more finance to maybe buy those cool new things that you couldn't as a youth. You don't have the time, though.
Yeah.
to use
Yeah,
those
but
cool
the
new
time
things.
you do have, I think you use it wisely a lot more. I mean, we all meet up for D&D, and we try to schedule around when we can do it. And then when we do it, it's a great time every time. I don't find a bad campaign. We're just hanging out, drinking beer. It's great.
Bad campaign. I thought some of the first like campaigns you ran with were not the best players.
That was also in high school.
Oh, okay. I
And
thought
my
that was much more
evolution
recent.
of hanging out with friends and doing nerd stuff like D&D in high school is greatly different. Again, I did it every week, and we did it for a long period of time. Like a good 10-hour session would be a normal session.
And the
But we're
BO back
kids.
then was huge.
Oh,
It
puberty
was
BO,
so
the
bad.
best BO.
It was so bad because I was getting really into working
All
out
that
and stuff like that. then.
testosterone.
And I would go for a run, go to D&D, and just be smelly as hell. And then I would go home and then take my shower. And that wasn't just me. All my friends did the same thing. We were all growing up, testosterone filled. Everyone smelled bad.
So there are a lot of really busty elven women in your campaigns, huh?
Just one. Derek!
Oh, this was actually played by a player.
I don't think he doesn't really pick that many female characters. Yeah, we just joke with him, but he was always a fighter, really. He always wanted to be Dragonborn Rider. And Ellie showing up late.
Yeah,
As
that's how it
always.
works. That's how it goes. If I'm not late, then it's not me, and it's an imposter, and you should kill it.
Well,
It will
good
be
to know
evil
our...
doppelganger.
Ooh, what's this? Speaking of nerd stuff.
This is a great comic called Day Tripper. It's fantastic.
I made her boss read it, and she's super into it. And this is your mail.
Oh, thank you for my mail.
So, yeah, Day Tripper by,
look at this,
unfortunately,
my
two people whose name I cannot pronounce. It is a very good comic series. I'm not a huge comic guy, and I like it. The story is just that good and fluid. Like I say,
Do you want a
lots of
beer?
things about it.
Yes.
Well, with Miss Ellie coming in late, please introduce yourself.
I am Ellie. I go by Shellenor on the internet, and apparently I don't sit close enough to the mic, so you won't be able to hear me at all, ever. Yeah, my name is
someday.
Ellie. I go by Shellenor. There's candy, so I'm gonna eat it.
And in beer, how
While
roll?
you have a mouthful of candy, what was the question again?
The first question was, what is your experience growing up or being around the nerdom, and how it evolved over time for you? How do you see it now?
Or how did you evolve with it?
How do you evolve with it? What made you become the person that you are into D&D today?
Don't worry, for those at home, we all have fainting couches for this scenario. There is an elderly gentleman in the corner with a bushy beard smoking a cigar and looking accusatorily at me. So this is a very therapeutic session.
Always, always.
Oh, is that me?
No, that's Sigmund Freud.
Oh.
It could also be Cobalt. You just put.
Yeah, we don't know what Cobalt
He's
looks
the
like.
peanut gallery.
Oh, Cobalt's peanut gallery for today.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
He's too into Breath of the Wild at the moment.
Gorgeous game. I think Joe keeps getting distracted by it.
It is pretty.
It is very pretty.
It's
colors.
super pretty.
There's a lot of colors.
So what is
Yeah,
your
but-
experience with this?
Man, I missed like everybody else going into it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
You totally did.
Yeah.
That's what you
Yeah.
get for coming in late. You don't get to
I'm
hear
on
our
the
stories.
spot.
Yeah,
We
now
all
you're
get to
on
hear
halfway
your
through.
stories.
Yeah, you are hard.
Oh, shit, I'm
Just
gonna
be
knock
lucky
over
that this
here.
isn't live.
Oh shit, you're right.
Don't get this. Whose 20 is this?
That's mine.
Take your money.
I guess I always read a lot growing up because fucking hell, I didn't have anything else to do.
No friends, gotcha.
Yep.
Pretty much, actually,
Yeah.
yeah. I had a really, really pronounced stutter, and I couldn't talk very well until around 6th grade when I was just like, "Fuck this, I don't give a shit," and then the stutter disappeared, like immediately, like straight up. I went to middle school, and then it was gone. But so I always read a lot, and because I read all the time, I made friends with people who also read all the time, and then eventually I was friends with males who read all the time, and those usually play video games. So I got into video games. Eventually, because my grandmother died and left me a computer, so I got a computer. So then I got Killing Floor and never stopped. Killing Floor.
When was that? How old were you?
That's 2009.
How old were you?
Oh man. Probably a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, no, I was a junior, maybe.
We graduated in 2011. So
Yeah, so I was a junior when I got the computer, and I didn't actually have really any video games until senior year, and I got them from like. Actually, I think Cobalt was one of them. Cobalt and Quickie and all those groups, that group of people.
Okay.
They gave me a pirated version of Killing Floor, and that was my only video game for like straight up a year.
Meanwhile, and in that game, you were just a little camper with a flamethrower. Come at me!
You don't camp with a flamethrower. You run around because otherwise you set yourself on fire and everything else sets you on fire, and then you're just on fire. What you do is you run berserker because you can run away from everything and just take everything out. Because I was
There you
usually
go.
playing by myself because no internet.
Oh yeah.
I guess before that I had Game Boy that I got from like yard sale, and I had like Mario and stuff, and that was cool. Actually, I got to play one of the Mario games with my brother on a Nintendo 64 when I was like 10. That was pretty awesome. That's actually why I want to get Luigi, because playing video games with my brother, he was awesome.
And likewise, it sounds like Ellie had very similar friends as Elizabeth, which you missed out on. Her friends were imaginary and also named Mario and Luigi and Yoshi and Bowser. And there's
Sweet,
a high
sweet
five.
Best friends.
Best friends ever. Actually, mine were the Gargoyles, because that was the best show ever.
That's still
Gargoyles
the best show
was
ever.
fantastic.
That's never going to stop being the best show
Yep.
ever.
Well, did you ever have to deal? Because we all had to deal with like some kind of bullying. Really? Did you ever have to?
People ignored me. I couldn't talk right. I was smarter
so
than
envious.
them because they couldn't
Right.
fucking like they couldn't even disprove it because I was in the like little group that just outdid everybody because I went to NCSA. So they had like the one group of smart kids and then they had the rest of the class and I was over there. So they were just like couldn't even talk shit. But at the same time, I couldn't talk any shit because I couldn't talk. So,
That
so
is
I was
fair.
ignored a lot. There was not really any bullying so much as just generally I was ignored until about 6th grade when I was just like, fuck this. And I made friends with a girl wearing a the Zelda Ocarina of Time t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much I pretended to know what the game was until she was friends with me. And then 4
Wow.
years later, I admitted that I had no idea. I've never played that game.
Meanwhile, the cat just freaked out Joe.
It's good shit. The cat knows what's up.
The cat wants that chair back, and he's
He's determined to
fight for
take it.
So,
I am so scared right now.
so no, there was never really any bullying. Just like
Oh man.
I sat in a corner a lot.
So we have all spectrum of what nerds deal with growing up. We have the rare one that fought back, the one that Uncle Tom, the one everyone ignored,
Uncle Tom?
and the one that
I was an Uncle Tom nerd, absolutely.
What?
Yeah, just listen to the podcast. You'll hate me for
All
it.
right, you're right.
And the
I'll
one
find
that
out.
just kind of took it because fuck these kids, I'm not going to see them ever again. But
And then I was.
I became very bitter.
Out of all the stories here, I think mine is the worst. So
Yeah, yours is the worst.
Yeah, I'm gonna need another beer.
You guys forgot the last
Gotcha.
type of
What's the last type of?
The
Oh.
last type of nerd is the type of nerd that I was. The nerd that is kind of in the nerd thing, but is afraid to like go into the nerd stuff because he's like, no, I'm not that lame and everything.
That kind of is under the Uncle Tom
Yeah.
nerd.
Cobalt wants to share that he was not a full-on nerd because he didn't have the courage to dive full in.
And
Oh,
then-
man.
and
He
then
was a little
my friend
bitch.
invited me to a Pathfinder campaign, and I made fun of it. He's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?"
He
man?
made fun of
Like,
Pathfinder, which is the
Pathfinder's
best.
awesome.
He was just wrong.
He even paused Breath of the Wild to chime in on our conversation.
That is a must keep.
That's a must keep.
He has not bathed or left the house for 3 days straight.
Except for work, because he doesn't. Have to
Except for
work.
work, but he still hasn't bathed for that too.
Do you hear
right
that?
now,
Do you hear that? Cobalt's work. He hasn't bathed, and he touched all your things.
all
He
of
does
your
work in the kitchen.
things. That extra grease on the pepperoni, delicious. It's his palm sweat.
It's just a little bit of extra seasoning.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
Well,
let's
The
see.
seasoning.
Since-
It's like olive oil, you know, except it's like Italian seasoning.
Oh, I don't even want to hear any more of this.
Why don't you
Oh.
want to hear this? Why don't
Oh.
you want to hear what's in your food?
Let's get back to the topic since Ellie actually came in late. Let's
Yes,
go
I did.
back
Yeah.
to.
Hey, how late did she come in?
Oh, she came
what,
in
an hour?
like. She came in late.
Right,
I
I
don't have the time,
We
but
don't
she
have
came
time
in late.
now. Let's just get to it.
Yeah, I was talking to your dad.
Her dad's cool to talk to.
Yeah, totally. is. So we were talking about movies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I was ranting about Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
A lot.
And how bad it is?
It was so bad. Your dad had to know that it's bad, and I'm upset about it.
Do you need counseling? You might need this beer more
Do you
than
need
I.
do you need a grief counsel for Suicide Squad? There, I'm pretty sure there's groups for that.
It's really sad because Ellie.
And we call those suicide prevention groups.
Oh!
Scared the cat.
Oh, okay.
Double win!
Yeah, but I know she hated it more than everyone because she
loves Batman.
Ellie's super into comics, and
Directed
when
after
we
the movie,
got
I
out of
rented
that
them for
movie.
a full hour.
Oh, man,
I know.
she did.
When we got out, we were sitting in the cold.
We were cold,
And Ellie
and
was
she just
so angry that she was hot
I
and
was
warm.
warm with hate,
Yeah.
and I'm always cold, so it was a lot of hate.
It's
Yeah.
impressive. It was
And-
very impressive.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting outside the car, just letting her rant, and it was just freezing.
It was
just
great.
pacing back and forth angrily, just
In the
like,
parking
freaking
lot.
out. There was a lot of flailing of limbs, and No
Yep.
screaming, but plenty of.
There was a couple screams.
There was some.
Not very
there
like
was
high
some-
pitched, but it was
yeah.
like it was a very much a. It was from the
It was some
diaphragm.
rage.
Man.
There was definitely some rage.
Yeah.
It needed to be expelled
Yeah.
So
at length.
so let's get back on topic. How we came up to that, but how you see it today, as of being an adult now. With
Now that you're out
this
of the
question.
box.
I'm asking everybody this question. I'm just looking at you. You sexy long-haired beast of a man.
Thank you.
Are we
Now,
talking about his eyebrows? Are we saying?
No,
his
we're talking
eyebrows-
about
it's
my-
canon. No, your eyebrows are now canonically. Thank you, canonically. Down to your waist. They're-
as well as the
they're
rest of his
waist-length
luscious
eyebrows.
head of hair.
As well as the rush. See, that's the
Yes.
thing. I think you misunderstand the eyebrows. They're just my bangs. My bangs are that sexy. So.
Why are they attached to the spot above your eyes?
Oh,
Directly
that's,
above.
You're misunderstanding things.
Those are your eyelashes too.
You're
They
just
also come down to your waist.
again eyes down here, not up
I'm
here.
sorry.
So
You're right.
yeah,
I think you
Sorry,
got that
Kate.
backwards, but I don't know if that was intentional.
that's
So-
100% intentional.
Okay.
how I see it now is just like how I explained it before. The nerd culture kind of is just really accepting, and if you're not part of a nerd culture, you're kind of the outer cast. I mean, when I was going through a lot of my running buddies and stuff like that, we all had something we enjoyed, and it was super nerdy or super dorky. I mean, a lot of my running buddies, they big buff guys listening to Aqua to run to. I'm a Bobby. They would just enjoy it,
I
and
could see how that would be pretty peppy.
he had the
Definitely
whole
listen to it up for a minute.
Aqua CD with Candyman and everything on it. I mean, he was a raver, so he enjoyed that stuff, and he made sure that all of the weight training class
Knew it.
listened to it.
That
He
is
would put it in the
beautiful.
boombox, and we would all listen to it, and we all enjoyed it. It was the whole class. No one was super homophobic about anything. It was just,
I don't
I'm
think
a
you
Barbie
can be
girl
when you're in a
in a
room
Barbie
full of sweaty
girl.
guys with their muscle shirts lifting weights.
Yeah,
There's
you're
no
not
one's
homophobia
You're
in that.
homoerotic.
The subtext is now full text.
yeah.
Mm.
But that's all I see it now. I see it. It has adapted so much since being an adult, I guess you could say. If you call myself an adult, I don't know how I do adulting, but I think I do pretty well. I'm still alive.
Oh,
You're
let's be fair.
average.
Nobody knows how to adult.
Yeah. The adults that know how to adult don't know how to adult. You don't think they have problems? They have problems. And while I'm in this voice, how do I think of the nerd culture today? You have it easy. Let me tell you something. Back in my day.
Grandpa Joe.
No, you're welcome. Back in my day, you wanted to go to the movie store, right? You wanted a fantasy film? There was no Lord of the Rings.
Fucking Dungeons and Dragons, the movie.
There was no Dungeons and
You
Dragons
get
in
the
the movie.
second one. You get the second Dungeons and Dragons movie.
There was no
Sponge
second.
Yes, unicorn.
You get
That's a good
Kroll the
that
Conqueror.
one.
Yeah.
You get Jason and the Argonauts. You get a lot of claymation films. Those were your options. And you know what?
You get a lot of VeggieTales.
Yes.
I remember VeggieTales.
Yeah. And you
That was
like
in the
it
90s.
because this is your thing. This is all you have. You want to socialize with friends? You do it in the basement. An actual basement of the school. That's the only place that you're allowed to go. That's
They
only
don't
other
allow you in
place.
classrooms.
No, they don't.
Literally, you can't go to class. You have
No.
to take your classes in the basement.
That's because you're
nerds.
practicing witchcraft and it's the devil's work and you're not allowed to do it outside.
I want to go to the school. What are you talking about?
Like the idea of crazy basement life sounds good so long as there's like the little tiny 6-inch windows so you can peek out at the people that
There was no windows.
People? Okay.
Windows were for putzes.
No sunlight.
No sunlight.
All right, well,
we were
I
all
don't give
pretending to
much
be
anyway, I work night
vampires.
You're going full like beginning astronomer.
I work night
As in,
shifts.
you stay
see
in a
this
closet
my
during the
skin.
day.
You see this in my skin. I do not see the sun.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude, I'm
that's fine.
pastier than you. And you know it.
Oh, yeah. That's because I'm Italian and Sicilian. I got some olive
It'd be
skin.
nice
I'm
and go
native and I'm still
ivory.
this fucking white. It's because I'm mostly Scandinavian, so, mostly white.
Irish! Irish as fuck!
She
You
throws back
cannot
her beer.
hear the sound effect, but there was a chugging of a beer, and there was a very unwomanly belch that we had to edit out of this podcast. Only under threat of duress from Elizabeth was that admitted to. So you are welcome, because we want to continue doing this, and we can't afford dead.
I forgot what the type
So-
of topic we were talking about is.
We were talking about your
Oh,
relation
right.
to nerddom now that you're an adult and out of the high school.
Now I have money to pay for it, so I have a tattoo of dice on my spine. You know, so
But you have money to enjoy it. That's been
Yes.
our...
You have money
Time to enjoy it. Back to it. You have a
Alright.
bunch of time.
essentially, I have a shit ton of time, and I have enough money that I can spend it on video. I can spend $5 on Steam for a game that I'll play for 40 hours. You know, and I can make the 40 hours to play it. So it's good.
And it correlates with we can just play Monday, Tuesday,
Not-
Wednesday, Sunday. Like we can do
Yeah.
these.
Like the nerddom
great.
is my social life largely. It's like
That's not a bad social life.
you
You
are the
enjoy
people
it,
that I
right?
hang out
I
with. Yeah.
don't understand. I come over here to drink.
That's also helpful.
It is?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
helpful in the nerddom because then you make goofy noises.
Then you can play Red Dragon Inn properly.
Yeah, that's important.
That'd be fun. So,
And we gotta play that properly.
We do got to play that properly. I would
so
like
I
to.
think one of the other questions we discussed
drink.
earlier is...
Hey,
I mean, it's going to be...
what about my time?
Oh my god, fine. Take the spirit stick away from me.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, I'll take that
Have
damn
it-
spirit
You
stick
can
from
have
you.
a literal spirit stick. It's this DVD.
It's the DVD. It's the Girl on the Train DVD.
Yeah.
But anyways, so
Better yet, Bulbasaur right over there. I'm sorry.
or Trico. But anyways, I work retail 3 days a week, and it's a little difficult to make time for nerddom just because I actually have a lot of other stuff going on because of the art thing. So
And by the way, you didn't mention that. What art thing is this, and where can they find your art? This, Master of Talents.
okay, quick shameless plug. You can find me on Tumblr, Jinxie, DeviantArt, Jinx Joker. I never touch that DeviantArt these days because I forgot the password, and I really need to redo that. But mostly you can find me on YouTube also. I think that's also just Jinxie. And I do have a Twitter. I'm still getting the hang of actually using it, but I do have one. So yeah.
So not as only she an artist, she's also technologically disinclined. A rare combination nowadays.
No, I need to work on it because I've been actually working a lot at work because I have to cover for a lot of people. But anyways, I do find time for D&D and things like that. Mostly just the major time chunks are D&D, which will take full days,
Best chunks.
twice a week
Best chunks.
because of separate games. But yeah, it depends on what you actually do. If you're doing something like myself and you have like other things you really actually want to get going, excuse me, like the art thing, then it's like that is, say, I don't know, another 28 hours a week that you got to work on it.
Elizabeth is here to put us all to shame by actually like pursuing things and having goals in life while I just go to the gym all the time.
That's a goal in
Yeah,
life.
but your goal is getting
But your
physically
gains.
fit. That's a good
But
thing.
your gains.
I do need.
I stopped getting physically
fit.
fit, and now I don't have my six pack
I'm
anymore,
more
and I
fit
just
than
got
you.
this round belly
I can
now.
run longer than you.
You totally run longer than me. I was training for a marathon, and you just like blow me out of the water nowadays.
Anyways, that was
I when in my prime, I would have
Yeah.
beat you.
Oh, yeah, in your prime. How long ago was that? What?
Like
Oh.
8 years ago.
Oh, man,
20.
Galen back
Oh,
there.
sorry.
Here
I
you
know,
go.
I know.
Do you need this beer? Yeah, you want another beer.
Oh, I do
That
want
sounds-
another beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so even though I have a part-time job, I technically have 2 jobs, which is that and artwork. But making time for D&D is helpful because you need a social life, and why not make your social life something you love doing?
Yeah. Also, then we get to make goofy voices and pretend we're other people making those goofy
We do
voices.
get to make goofy voices, don't
We
we?
do like the goofy voices.
Now, everyone loves goofy voices, unless you can't do them now. Isn't that right?
Unless
mate?
you're not very
Shut
good
up,
actors.
guys.
Well,
I hate all of you.
I didn't hear that.
It is true.
I
Galen
not-
is the only one who does
Only one
not
that doesn't make an accent.
Yeah,
I know, I know.
hold an
Well,
accent.
I can only
Here's the
hear
thing.
accents right now, so you two lovely ladies are making a lot of sense to me. Our mate over here, he just went mute for some reason or another. I don't know why.
But here's the thing. So because he's not doing an accent,
Uh-huh.
then technically he is doing an American accent because she's doing some kind of weird Russian Polish thing.
Yeah.
You all can't decide if you are
British.
Australian or New Zealand
Zealand.
and I'm
that
doing
is
some kind of
100% true.
bastardization of the English accent. So
Well, that all makes a lot of sense to me.
So long as none of our accents make any sense, it is cool.
perfectly fine. Okay, back to Americans. But
Yeah,
Well,
I got
to be fair, I'm
Galen
super,
again.
I'm super jealous of everyone who can do accents because
I'm not doing one well.
Yeah, but I can't do any of those.
You just pretend like you can and pretend long enough that other
Hold on.
people just
I don't
have to
know
deal
the
with it.
language phonetics, right, to
There
do
are
them.
YouTube for that. There's YouTube
Yes,
for that.
and I'm gonna be trying to get better at
There's
it.
that for that.
But when I was younger, and I played D&D, I did not play good D&D. Let's be fair here. I played good D&D a few years ago and got super into it. And now, you know, everyone's doing accents around me. Everyone's like role playing way better, and I can barely stay in character. And that makes me super sad. Like, oh man, everyone's better than me at all these things. But
that's true,
I've been trying so goddamn hard.
He has been. He really has been.
And
So
it
let's throw
just
a
gave me a drive to do more. And that's all it did. It just gives me a drive. If I suck at something, it gives me a drive to push myself to just be decent. Like what
You're gonna
you guys
make me be
are.
the person that's the worst at accents at this
Yeah.
table. Are you gonna make me be that person?
Be what?
Are you gonna outclass us all in accents? And
No,
then
not even
I'll be
fucking
at the
close.
Well,
I'm gonna
be the
get
worst
decent
accents.
and get a couple good accents. This is just my life. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna get a couple good accents, and then I'm gonna stick with those and ride that gravy train to
Well,
fucking the
that's
station.
fine. Apparently, everybody in D&D is British, so. But like, don't you already
Don't
have
look
kind
at
of an
me.
accent?
British.
Yeah, but
Apparently
that's
Zelda's
not
British now, too.
That's not role playing
Thank
an
you,
accent
Gallery.
if that's already the one you have.
Well, then just don't have a Brooklyn accent or a weird bastardization of the Brooklyn accent because your family is odd.
I don't know language phonetics. I don't know if you know this. I grew up super poor, so I didn't get to.
Straight up, there is an entire there's a how-to on fucking. I'll show it to you. There's a how-to on YouTube that goes specifically on how you hold your mouth. For instance, for Russian, literally you just hold your tongue in the back of your throat and you roll your R's. Other than that, it's like really minimal
That
stuff.
makes lots of sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cockney, and most British stuff, you just squish your face together. You just squish your mouth together, and then
Oh, you mean like Michael Caine?
exactly.
And for an Australian accent, you just want to chew the words, just chew them right out. Like you got a big piece of kangaroo meat in your mouth, and you're just tearing that beast raw.
And here's another thing
eat
with
that
accents.
Oh,
Here's
that
another.
wallaby is delicious.
Here's another thing with accents. Nowadays, if you were caught doing this in high school, and they knew you, would they look at you weird comparative to now?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
my sisters
Totally.
loves your accent, loves your nerd accent, and loves your
wait.
old man accent.
Well, which sister's this, Mike?
My older one.
The older-
Now,
the
Which
one that's
one? You
taken?
got like 5?
Yeah. Now, she loves your accents and what you do with them. And it's the same with everybody else. But I know in high school, if you acted like that, that was an
Oh
asshole.
man.
Yeah.
You're
get
just
beat
you're
up
just
so
asking
fast.
for it. You're just asking
That's
for it
true.
at that time, or just asking to be singled out and teased. And trust me, a lot of people did do that. I hung out with a lot of the crowd that got teased.
Hey, I straight up talked to myself at school, so
Yeah, yeah.
I was made fun of for talking at all.
Oh, fucking sweet story time.
Story
Back
time,
in elementary
Daddy.
school, I thought life was a musical. I didn't learn
This is
differently.
so delightfully gay, do tell.
I didn't learn differently until third grade.
Disney.
Third grade is when I found out that you don't just burst out into song and people think that's normal.
Hey, there's
that's
plenty of adults
not.
who think it's okay. So.
No, I didn't socialize. I didn't know better. I literally got so little social interaction.
Did you
I thought
actually
that's
sing
how
in
it worked.
class and stuff?
Not in class. I
Well,
Went to
nobody
the-
sings during class. It's like at lunchtime is when you sing.
yeah.
Yeah, come
pretty
on,
much.
man. You're weird enough to know
Actually,
that.
I went to a birthday party for my neighbor. I don't know why I was invited. We weren't really friends or anything, but he invited me because he invited like a shit ton of people. I literally sang. I sang how I was sad that I was all alone in a tent, like at the end of the night. And the next day I got made fun of for it, and it was just like. That's when I learned that you don't just sing about that shit. That doesn't make sense. But I literally thought it was a musical, and I would just burst into song, completely not really in tune.
That's kind
That's
of really
hilarious.
adorable.
Now let's go around the table on being young
Can
and
you
doing
outdo
something
this? Can you
silly
outdo
and
musical
nerdy
me?
that was like that. Because I have one. We used to go to the public pool, and I was huge into the Ninja Turtles. I
thought you
said,
were gonna say you were
I
huge.
said cowabunga every time I went down the slide.
Everyone did that.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch
That's not
Ninja
nerdy,
Turtles
that's
and I did
normal.
that.
Oh
Like, to
man.
be fair, Ninja Turtles is surprisingly.
I
famous.
never seen anybody do that. But again, I lived in a much poorer neighborhood. Fucking, that was just it. No one had TV where I was, so I was lucky when I got one. But I would always do that. I would do nerdy things like that. What was it? I also did the whole act like a Power Ranger, where they do the poses.
I was doing that in the
Oh
mirror
my
this
God,
today.
I remember
like
doing that
literally
too.
before I came here. I
Don't
was
get me
doing
wrong.
that.
I still do the Kamehameha way of
No,
like
I was in the
joking
mirror
at the cat.
an hour ago, going like this.
Why, were you just checking out your new muscles or something? Or?
Yeah, they're so
Yeah.
they're so.
Well,
prominent.
she
They're
is
not-
getting
It's funny
built
because
since
I
she
don't
goes to
lift
the gym
nearly as often
every
as you do,
day.
but I think
You
I
go
could
every
probably
day.
lift more than you could.
You probably could. Honestly, I'm not very strong. I just go a lot. I don't know what I'm doing even. Like, I finally broke down and I picked a random buff dude at the gym, was like, what the fuck am I doing? Please help me. And it's been awesome. The past, like, couple of days, he's been like, all right, here's a thing, you can do this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And the things you told me the day before and before that.
Yep.
And I'm just going to do them all, and I'm just going to spend hours at the gym.
Sometimes all it takes is just some random buff person.
It really does.
Here's my buddy.
I mean, I haven't been going to the gym for the past couple, like, 2 weeks.
We haven't been able
but
to.
I still do push-ups at work to keep myself awake.
I do squats, and I feel goofy as shit doing them.
I do the
I lift
same
heavy
thing.
boxes at work.
I smoke cigarettes and drink beer.
No,
Joe's
the other
truly
day,
just gonna finish us
we had a big old order of clay come in, and so I'm hoisting these boxes around. I'm just like, this 20-pound box is surprisingly light. That doesn't sound impressive, but for a while I thought 10 pounds was weird. Was not weird, but like kind of.
And in the true nerd fashion of being an adult nerd, we constantly overcompensate on how strong we are nowadays.
Yeah, it's required.
That's why I
why
just
do you
embrace
think I
my
go to the
weakness.
gym? I'm a fucking weeb.
Sorry to cut you off. I just thought that was
okay.
That is just super funny at this
I have to
point.
go to the gym because I'm a huge weeb. And so my muscles have to be as big as my weebdom. And they're never going to catch up. Ever.
Yeah, it's not like Eric where he's like a huge nerd for everything and he has like a giant boner for Conan.
Oh,
Go to the
but
barbarian.
Oh,
But he is like the buffest.
But
He's
I
so
knew
buff.
Eric back when. Oh my God. To tell the stories of this kid. Yes, Eric. I'm talking about you, champ. Oh, man. One word. Quaffles. Yeah.
Waffles?
Yeah. Quaffles. I cannot tell the story.
Cake waffles?
Might as well be. It was
I
an
was thinking
an
something
online
Wilbur's,
fling that he
so-
had in World of Warcraft. It's adorable.
Oh,
We will share one day, but
we will share one day.
We'll share most embarrassing nerd stuff. Of our
that
friends
would
as
be
well.
true.
No one is safe.
It's like we never think of like the embarrassing nerd shit when we're like asked about it, but then we'll think of this random shit.
When you're
that's like,
brushing
wait
your
a
teeth
second,
or something.
What?
Yeah,
no,
yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
I noticed this. So when we're talking normally, this is just our normal conversations and stuff like that. But when we're talking to somebody, like I was talking to my boss, like just talking about stuff,
I talked to
and I was like,
everybody
oh my
tonight.
God, I'm a complete nerd, and I'm talking to my boss. I'm uncomfortable now.
No, you don't even know, because Heather,
They're judging me.
our late night manager, spends most of the time at the house I work at during the weekends, and she's a pretty big nerd. She's really into this stuff. So I assumed she was on my like
Level?
she was, like not on my level because I
Did you
don't know
find a
what
new
her
best
level
friend?
is.
Just stay on
She's
your
my
level.
favorite, but I didn't realize that she wasn't into some of the things that I took for granted. For instance, anime. Apparently, that's not as big of a thing as I thought it was. Because I just took it for granted that everybody watches anime. I also took it for granted that everybody's been on 4chan. I've also taken it for granted that a number of other things that were just like apparently not normal.
All of those things that you just mentioned are like the most hilarious things for me. Just being like, yeah, haha, this thing, and then someone's like, what's that? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
The peanut
and
gallery
like,
relates.
no peanut.
Explaining memes. Explaining the worst memes.
Oh God,
Oh.
meme-splaining. It's meme-splaining.
I have-
Meme-splaining.
I have more than 300 just images saved on my phone of just 4chan green text. That's not even memes. It's green text. It's
Yeah, but-
literally text.
But you see that you have that difference with normal people.
I
mean,
didn't realize it
the
was
manager
such a
has like
difference.
kids and a life,
No, she
and
doesn't. She has video games and
She does,
I mean,
but-
she's got a life, but she's also
you know you're bigger into it than she is.
well, she's got. I'm not sure completely. I think she might be into a different type of nerddom because she's more into like Fallout
mean-
4 and Pokemon Go, whereas I'm into Saints Row and D&D.
And Rogue
way too much
Legacy,
4chan.
and Rogue Legacy,
Yeah.
and a bunch of other games. Overwatch. It's a bunch of games
Yeah,
on
yeah,
your
there's a
list.
bunch of stuff.
And
And
I've only
I'm
talked to
the-
her about like a few games. So I think of like levels of nerdom. Like, oh my God,
I didn't realize I was so high up on
I'm
the
a
levels.
fat Steve sitting in the couch in her eyes, and I don't want to be
And-
like that to my boss.
And again,
okay,
for reference,
so-
it's very important. Excuse me, to cut you off here.
okay.
You're a high level of nerddom when you use levels too.
That's a
Go
really
ahead.
good point. We are using those.
As a reminder for those listening at home, Galen is fat. Oh my God, is he fat?
We're actually all over
Oh.
400 pounds.
He
Yes.
is.
Except
We
me,
have
I'm
a
way too
little
willing
like
to accept
studio
that.
currently set up, and his
Alright.
blubber is like right now adjusting my mic to be softer and softer, so I can't say.
Man, I didn't even know Galen had that much control over his belly. It's just prolific.
Oh man, it's amazing what a good shirt would do.
And I love my good shirts. I
He's
don't
wearing like
dress in
7
anything else.
shirts right now because he has to wear that many to fit around his girth.
Yep. Anyways, so that actually does bring up kind of another segue of this topic is your relationship to nerddom, because like an example would be myself. So I thought of myself as like moderate nerd, but I actually used to do what I called prose playing, which is like RPGs, but like on forums and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I did that for
I believe
fucking
that
years.
is called by play by post, madam.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. 'Cause
But I never actually learned the name because the group was so small. But I did that for years. And then when I started dating Galen, he actually introduced me to D&D and things like that. So, and now I get to compare just like, oh, well, play by post is kind of better because you don't have to worry about talking over each other so much. It's much more controlled. But with like tabletop, it's a lot more like, it's a lot more fair.
Fluid.
It's fluid and a lot more fair, I think, because like if you're doing like a combat setting, because like it's like outing myself here. The thing I was a part of was very Naruto based, so everybody had a wee little ninja who was all Batman. It was all like
definitely had
fucking
my fair
Batman.
Wow, Liz. Wow.
And so, hey, that's
Level
it.
of weed, this is something I never
Newfound
thought I'd
respect.
hear.
Right here, it's just leveling up.
Did it for
in
fucking
respect.
years.
You don't even know.
Anyways,
Years of Naruto.
well, it was Naruto based. It actually eventually evolved past it because we all grew up. But
Oh yeah, but still. Like, just
yeah,
like,
You
started.
went into Bleach, and then now
We
into
grew up
Fairy
into One
Tail,
Punch Man.
you stuck with it. You
and now
stuck,
it's One Punch
you
Man.
stuck with it long enough for it to evolve. You know, that's like there's.
Well, no, but here's the thing. That's actually where my first like long-term character came from.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a big part of like my development as a writer in general. But either way, it's like so if you do something combat based, there's constantly somebody who's going to be like, I automatically hit you because I write it in. So and then there's going to be someone else who says, well, I automatically did your hit, and it gets very like catty like that. Meanwhile, D&D, there's none of that shit. There's a roll, you hit or you miss, doesn't matter. You rolled, there's your number.
Yeah, I tried.
I
to
do
get,
kind of like that.
I tried to get into.
I really
the,
like D&D. It's like after my how many campaigns, and I want to do a drawing of just like all my characters in the past like year I've been doing this.
You have embraced the nerddom well.
I have, yes, I have.
I tried to get.
And sorry again.
No worries.
As to present you, by the way, this is a gathering for an official ceremony. Here is your significant lightsaber. This is being passed off to you. We will put it on your shoulders.
Please don't. That
Yeah.
sounds like it would hurt.
No, it's fine. The cinching's okay. You have now been knighted as a Jedi Knight in D&D land. You will
Yay.
now be a level 1 Dungeon Master. Congratulations.
Yay!
I better have fucking sound effects for that too, by the way.
Zoom.
I know. Zoom.
I gotta
Like
find
little
it. I gotta find a soundboard and do some sound effects.
Anyways, but yeah, so that's kind of my relationship to nerddom as I grew up. Does anybody else have any like something like that? Or am I just like the new initiate?
I think for Ellie, it like came very naturally.
It really did.
She really hung out with us in high school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We invited you over to play World of Darkness.
Yeah,
with-
and I played, and I was the only one who stayed awake because it was story time with Derek.
It was story time with
And I
Derek.
was the only one who was awake, and you were trying to deal with Ellen at the time, so it was
Yeah,
a nightmare
yeah.
for that. And it was like Sean and Brian and Ryan
Story
would be
time with
asleep, and I would be
Derek.
awake, and Derek would just be talking still, and none of us knew what was going on anymore.
Our friend Derek is a
That was very
gem.
true. But we also
both-
did Magic. We did
Well, yeah, I was-
we did D&D. We did some board games. It was pretty much like every
Yeah,
weekend.
and I already I'd gotten into that stuff in like high school and just kind of like never dropped it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I tried the prose by proser. Is that
Prose play.
prose play?
Play by
Um,
post. Play by post.
Again, play by post.
I
I
tried
corrected
play by
myself.
post.
I've learned.
But I did it after I'd already tried role playing, so I literally tried to roll for my stuff, and I just like, because I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. I'll literally roll for it, see if that works. And I lost interest really quickly because nobody else was doing that, so I just felt like a
Yeah.
dweeb. But
I was very lucky to find a very consistent group. So
my group was consistent. I just felt
until like
goofy.
we
I
all
don't
grew
know.
up and got jobs and yeah, but
But before that, I'd already been playing like Magic and other games and shit forever, so it was just kind of like it was a steady progression into further and further down. The hole.
so unfortunately I have to cut. Hopefully that story was over because Joe has to leave.
It was over.
And with that, we actually have to end the podcast.
Oh.
We will talk to you guys.
But I just got my mic back. What? No, your fat is shutting me off.
Get back in the fat rolls, Joe. You're leaving.
He will absorb your power and your voices, and then he will do voices.
He'll absorb the power of voice making.
Oh, and this is Galen Umple signing off for On and Game. And good on, mates.
Have a good night, and hopefully see you next time on Cockney Gaming Podcast.
Bye.